Alrighty, let's get this show on the road. No intro music. Yeah, I should have done some ASMR for you. I have some water here. We are no claw tonight. I could have done some like water swishing for you, Diamonds. What other kind of ASMR could I got a pen? Could have done like pen to paper. You want some pen to paper ASMR? Got some pills. We could do like some like pill ASMR. I don't know, man. That's all I got. Got a keyboard cleaner. Would that work for you? Would that get you going, Diamond? Anyways, we have 4 lovely guests joining us tonight. Sorry, we have 3 lovely guests joining us tonight, and then Brushy's here as well. I see you couldn't even have given me like 3 seconds before you started with that point up shit. Let's start off. Let's welcome back our defending champion, Stephieee. Let me get you that unmute, Stephieee. How are you doing tonight?
I was muted. I'm doing
everybody's
fabulous. We're all muted. We all don't
Yes.
have a say. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantabulous. How's that? I'll one up you on your own intro.
That's a good one up. That's a good one up.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Markshire, first time here. How are you doing? You ready?
I am so ready. Yeah, it's nice to finally be here on the show. So should be good.
All right, we're really banging with these intros. I appreciate it. Thanks for getting the crowd going, guys. Nothing better than these "Hi, how are you?" intros. Icicles, the bar set very low for you here. You can only go up. How are you doing?
I mean, I'm good. I do have to apologize to everyone in chat right now because this should have been Boozosaurus. And let's be honest, you wanted hype. You wanted someone bringing the noise, getting the crowd pumped. That was your guy. And instead, you're stuck with me. And I have the coldest takes in history. So sorry, everyone.
They do go burr. I guess we'll unmute Brushy. I'm sure that he'll be muted for half the time anyways. I'm going to keep him muted until he stops whatever he's doing just for the hell of it because I think this will be more fun. There we go. How you doing, Brushy?
I'm doing all right. Listen, I had to bring the hype.
You brought something, man.
Yeah, look,
I don't know if hype is what it is.
Dabs is hype. Diamond's hyped. Ron's hyped about Icicles' icy takes. So,
ooh, I should have made that a separate segment. Icicles' icy takes.
you turn into THL Pal for those. You get them every week.
Just an hour long of bass and Icicles just slapping THL around like there's no tomorrow.
Alrighty. Well, we can dive right into it. Dabs, I swear to God, if you tell me to point anybody because I have shit to do during this show, I'm gonna deduct 5 from them. But I will put that 1 on Icicles. But that's
giving Dap a lot of power.
Warning. That's warning number 1. Look at me. I am the captain here. We're gonna jump right into it with our mulligan phase. We are going to start off talking about. We're actually only going to talk about 1 THL series in our mulligan phase. The rest of it's going to be just various forms of competitive questions. That first series we're going to talk about is Wild. So Wild started off later than all the other series, so we have not talked about the Wild series at all on this show. This is the very first time we'll have done it. So what I have for the 4 of you is a very, very bold prediction type question for the Wild series. And we'll start up with Stephieee. We'll let her get the ball rolling on her defense reign here. So my question for you is, after 1 week of play, what does your Wild series finals look like?
All right, hold on.
Preparation is the name of the game.
So, like, who's going to be our final 2 duking it out? Who's going to be like the Wild Kings and Queens, potentially?
That's exactly what I'm getting at.
All right. So I'm going to judge it 100% based off of what I think is the cleverest name, because that's how I like to run things here.
Okay.
I know nothing about Wild, but also, okay. So I was looking at this earlier to prepare myself because I wasn't prepared last time. I shouldn't have won. I don't know why I'm here, but we are. It's because I know that a sandwich, hot dog's not a sandwich. Okay.
The Bee Gees
And
questions
so-
really saved you last time.
Made in Heaven. It's my first hot take from the Green Conference. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Everybody heard it? Everybody heard it live. The following, though, I'm going to give it to a Noyo team. I think it's going to be this too.
Why is
Yes,
that?
I
Is
did
that-
to pick two teams that I felt like, were doing well. They did really well week 1.
Okay.
They showed up and they showed out. But I like a Noyo team better than Caesar Cheese. And so that's why I picked a Noyo team and not Caesar Cheese. And I like Made in Heaven's name much better. So that's why they got my vote.
Okay. Fair enough. Can't argue with that.
It's
let's-
honest.
Yeah, you're
Honest work.
you're being upfront. Let's go clockwise here, Brushy.
All right. From the Green Conference, I think it's everyone's a winner. They came out last week and absolutely destroyed Wild THL Fanatics. They 5-0'd them with 4 sweeps and 1 3-2. And Wild THL Fanatics was a huge front runner coming into Wild this season. So just to be able to come in week 1 and just stomp one of the favorites right off the bat is insane. So to me, for Green Conference, it's definitely everyone's a winner. And then for Brown Conference, I almost forgot the conference names. I got to go with another team as well. Duel's absolutely insane in Wild. That man jokingly plays meme hunter decks on ladder and still finishes like top 20 legend. So like, I know it's Wild, and a lot of people were probably gonna be like, "Oh, but it's Wild and it's not as cool as But he's doing that. MTG Squirrel also always like top 200. What is it? Bait Messile, I think is their 2 seed right now. Also top legend. Like Slight's also top legend, and I know it's me. Mike V just has like this great, fantastic knowledge of Wild. So that's another scary team I think coming out of the Brown Conference, and I think they'll be meeting everyone's a winner as of right now in the finals.
Alrighty. Icicles, what's your Wild Series final looking like?
Yeah, I like Brushy's take to give him a point because he stole my sleeper pick and everyone's a winner. But when I did the PAL preseason picks for Wild, I actually had everyone's a winner as a golden common because I was like looking at their name, like everyone's a winner. That's not true. Not everyone wins, but apparently they were just talking about their own team because they started with a sweep. So hats off to them. But I think I'm going to go with an Icicle take here and take chalk. I'm going to take the defending champion F12 Viridian. They are back in force, adding a player who is an absolute wild phenom in Corbett. And then from the other conference, I'm taking Hey Loser because they have GM Rami and another slew of excellent Wild players. People that I don't follow the Wild scene, but I know who they are. I know Minmark. I know Skittles. He's not a Wild player. I know Pasca. He's the captain. Sorry, Skittles. You threw me off there for a second. But no, I think that team is coming back. They were a solid contender last season, and I think they're only going to be better this time around. So give me chalk, give me F2 Viridian, and give me Hey Loser.
All right. And Markshire.
All right, so yeah, I thought I was going to be the only one to pick F2L Viridian before Icicles did, but I think you have to look at this team and say that they are the favorite to win the Green Conference. They won it last season. They have added Corbett, who I think is pretty known as a name, who is very good in Wild. He also hit #1 legend, I think just a couple days ago, or maybe it was December, but I think it was this month, and that's just really huge to have that on your team. And then in Brown, both Anoia team and Hey Loser look really strong. I'm going to go with Anoia team just because they are a known entity. They've got some really strong players. We know they have done well in playoffs in past seasons. So I'm going to have to go with Anoia team.
Alrighty.
Corbett did hit top 1 last month too, and this month already.
He hit #1?
So both. Okay.
Yeah, and both months so far. Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of hard to argue against. It's like having Gaby on your team, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we're gonna take a detour from our THL series for a bit. We're actually not gonna talk about our THL series again until we get to the second format. But for the rest of the mulligan, we're gonna talk a couple of questions about battlegrounds here next. The first Battlegrounds, yes. The first Battlegrounds question that I have for you is about the current state of the meta, and how it kind of is. From what I've gathered talking to Battlegrounds players, it's a polar opposite feeling of the feeling of this current standard meta. So my question, and we'll start, we'll go reverse where we just came from. So we'll start back again with Markshire here. Is this the best iteration of a BG's meta that we have seen?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. I don't really play BGs. I did when it first came out, though. I have heard that it's very good, but I'm going to have to say that this is not. I think the meta was the best when BGs first came out. That's what I know, and I think back when it was, just a totally new format, that's when everyone was getting into it. And there weren't, all these, I don't know, they didn't add all these other tribes and stuff, which I know like people are enjoying. But for me, the best BG's meta will definitely be that first one.
Okay, Icicles.
So I'm going to answer your question with a story. And the story begins with someone in this channel inviting me.
Can I go get some hot chocolate?
Absolutely, go for it. Add some marshmallows, stir it up a bit, and give it time to cool.
Let's do it.
All right. So the story has one of the fellow panelists here inviting me to a late night BG's lobby not too long ago, but it was in a different meta. And I rolled into that meta, into that group, and I finished second place. And I'm not quite as on the Battlegrounds playing as Markshire, but I don't play it that often. And the fact that I could just show up and finish second tells me that meta was garbage. Like, I mean, someone doesn't know what they're doing, beats everyone else now. But then last night, I decided to practice a little bit of BGs just so I could freshen up a little bit and know what I was talking about. I got rolled. I'm talking like 8th place, 7th place, no chance whatsoever. So that tells me this meta is good because people who know what they're doing beat the people who don't know what they're doing. So I am all in on this meta being fantastic. This is the best Battlegrounds meta by far.
Alrighty, that's a good argument. I mean, when it first came out, I would finish top 4, and I had only played, just a small handful of games. So yeah, good argument. BrushyTuna.
I absolutely love this meta. I've been playing BG since day one, and this is by far I'm not even kidding. This is my favorite meta because this meta is like the most different or most diverse it's ever been. Because we got the prizes now. We have the most classes that we've ever seen. Pirates, mechs, all of them in. So like on top of that, if you mess up at any point throughout your turns in BGs nowadays, you'll just get rolled by your opponents and get knocked out of the lobby. So to me, I love this meta a ton because there is no room for mess ups. There is no room to be super cautious. You have to be able to know what you're doing and be able to transition correctly or be able to know which minions you have to buy properly in order to make it to the next couple rounds. Because if you mess up on an early round and you take an additional like 12 damage, that's it. You're out of that lobby unless you spike something hard. So I absolutely love this meta. The fact that like in each game really feels different. There is no 2 games where I'm like, oh, I'm going Murlocs again like it was months and months ago, or I'm going Beast again because that's all I'm offered. There's just so many tribes nowadays that you can go any different direction that you could ever want. So I absolutely love this meta for its diversity.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we lost somebody.
Who'd we lose?
Markshire.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Sweet baby angel.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right.
This can better.
Maka's now Stephieee.
There we go. I was about to get so pissy. Okay. Woo!
Yeah, sorry about that. My laptop froze.
All right, you're good.
You saw the Markshire like explosion countdown.
Yes.
Like,
oh my gosh. All right.
Glad to know that the show isn't totally ruined.
Yeah. All right, Stephieee, you're up.
I think that this is probably the most balanced BG's meta, which I think is what makes it more enjoyable. Kind of like what Tuna was saying is it's not just, okay, the top 4 is going to be like, oh, who got poison Murlocs, or who was able to like go off really quickly with elementals, or who got the combos for Beast. I do think it's much more diverse. And I really like that. I think the people that complain about it, like a lot of people will complain about, the Khadgar shenanigans that do, like if you're able to go off with it, then you like go off with it really hard and then you just like, push dragons and Amalgadons and like win. which does happen sometimes, but I feel like that's just more like higher up MMR players that really have to deal with that. I think it's balanced for people that are just coming into it, especially because we just had the reset 2 weeks ago, so it can really help you play against people on your level. And I've just been loving it. I've been having a blast. I feel like I had to think every single time, and it's not just like going through the motion playing cards. Like you really have to be thought out, because there are times when you can just like take 15 and 20 and then you're out. Like you can't come back from that. You need to play so logically, which I appreciate. It kind of gives me some standard vibes when I used to play standard back in the day, where I actually had to really think out like my deck and my plays and my win condition. So I really like it. I'm obsessed, actually.
All right. We're going to stay on the topic of Battlegrounds, actually. We're going to transition a little bit, though, from the actual playing of the game and into the, I guess, existent / non-existent competitive scene. So my question, starting up there with Mr. Robin, is what kind of competitive support do you foresee from Blizzard for BGs, if any at all?
Honestly, it has to be coming from Blizzard. You know, there's a ton of like, not exactly top of the line of Blizzard, but WSOE, some college esports, a bunch of other like smaller smaller than Blizzard, but at least big enough names that are running these huge BG tournaments. Like our very own Happy Bear was in the WSOE BGs tournament like a week ago and was crushing it. And they had like an average of like 10K plus viewers each day. So like if Blizzard doesn't hop onto this BGs train right now, they're going to miss out on a lot. And outside of that, there's a ton of support for BGs just in general on like Twitch versus like the standard ladder people versus BGs. BGs has just been carrying numbers and it keeps going and going and going. And with these numbers, there's no reason for Blizzard not to jump onto a Battlegrounds like super money tournament here soon. If they don't do it, that is a huge missed opportunity for Blizzard, and they will surely pay for it because somebody else is going to step in and steal that from them.
All right. Markshire, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I definitely agree with a lot of what Brushy is saying. I think that there's a huge opportunity with Battlegrounds being super popular on Twitch. These tournaments like WSOE have been running, they've been doing well. I don't really see it happening anytime soon, though, to be honest. I think like we haven't even heard the announcement for Standard, for GM, for Hearthstone Esports, for what's going to happen this upcoming year. I think they are entirely focused on that, and we're not going to see anything in terms of BGs. And honestly, like with Blizzard, it might be the sense that they think, oh, this is doing well, but we want to actually create a league for it. And so we're going to wait and kind of like see how things go and maybe do that in a year or two. But as for like the end of this year, I don't really see anything major happening on Blizzard side, just seeing how esports has gone in general.
Okay, Stephieee.
I do agree that I think esports is like such a downer sometimes, and you know Blizzard likes to hold the crown with that, with what they like put their money towards and what they actually put their efforts in. They love listening to their fan base as well. But I have hope because of how well I feel Battlegrounds is doing, especially compared to Arena. So like that was like another mode that they had for a while. I know, what's Arena? Just kidding. If you play Arena, I'm joking.
Oh, no.
That's a joke.
No, Rose,
The Arena stands are going to come in hard for Stephieee. She talks shit about Arena.
But
BGs.
because of how popular I feel like Battlegrounds really has been in the last year or so, I could see them, considering investing into it in the competitive scene. They do a lot with it as a mode in general, with how they do listen a little bit better, I would say, than in the standard realm of, like what they like take in, what they put out, blah, 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 all that good stuff. So I could see, I hope, I have a little bit of faith that's like right there. It exists, that we'll see something. I don't think it's going to be in the beginning of the year. I don't think it's going to be like that huge announcement that comes out when they eventually announce it. But I could see it's something starting to transition during the summertime into the fall time, seeing more bigger tournaments.
Okay. Icicles, take us home here.
Yeah, so I'm going to build a little bit on some of the things that were said before. So Markshire saying how the standard announcement has been delayed, and that's part of the reason why we haven't heard anything about BGs. I'm going to say that part of the reason why we haven't heard anything about standard is because they're working on their BGs announcement too. I think this is a big deal. I think this is something that they're going to put a lot of time and thought into and make sure they get it right. And they're going to come out with the announcement that includes both standard for GMs as well as battlegrounds and create some sort of competitive scene. And I think there's a lot of different opportunities and ways they could go with that. I mean, we've seen team events, we've seen individual events. I think battlegrounds just really opens up a lot of different possibilities for the competitive scene. I think there's different opportunities, not only for Blizzard, but also for third party to figure out how it works. Battlefy is set up for single elimination tournaments, with tournaments, things like that kind of go head to head. But someone's going to figure out an infrastructure that works for battlegrounds and works on building that competitive, whether it's teams or whether it's individuals. And I think whoever does that is going to be a leader in that, in addition to whatever Blizzard has planned. And then lastly, let's shout out THL, because THL has put together a really good battlegrounds team series that has done exceptionally well for the first season, and is only going to grow in popularity, bring more people into THL, bring more people into this amazing content that we're putting out every day. And it's just really exciting to see. So I think there's a lot of potential here, a lot of opportunity, and I think everyone's going to try to take advantage of it. So I see a lot of growth for BGs in the esports scene.
Alrighty. Yeah, shout out THL. I've heard those the people over there are pretty cool. Let's take a step out of the battlegrounds. We will be venturing back in just a smidge a little bit later on. We're going to transition now into standard and talk a little bit about the current state of the meta, and in particular, one deck that seems to be taking over the ladder and the current meta state. So we're going to talk a little bit about Evolve Shaman. My question for you, and we'll start back with Icicles over here, is do you think we're going to see any adjustments to Evolve Shaman? And if we do, what do you think those are going to look like?
Yeah, I think we are. And I think it's going to be Cage Master Custodian goes to 3 mana, Box by Knuckles goes to 6 mana. I think those are the just easiest and most direct nerfs that could hit this deck. I don't think they'll be the only nerfs that we see, but since we're only talking about Shaman, let's focus there. I think Blizzard has shown an inclination in the past when one deck is so popular that it theoretically should be countered and everyone should be queuing up against it, but yet it's still being dominant, both in win rate and play rate, that they don't like that. They want there to be diversity. They want there to be different choices. I think they missed the boat with the last round of nerfs when if you listen to VS and their podcast and how they were saying if you don't nerf Evolve Shaman, it's just going to take over the meta, and that's what happened. And so I think it just happened to be at a holiday period that they didn't have the opportunity to nerf it again, or nerf again right before the holiday. So it wouldn't shock me if something came out this week, even now that everyone's back in the office. At worst, it'll be in a couple weeks when theoretically the mini set comes out. But yeah, I think Evolve Shaman's on the chopping block.
All right, hold off on that mini set talk. We're gonna get to that in a little bit. Stephieee, what are your thoughts here on Shaman? Are we gonna see any changes?
Listen, we better, because I like to play rogue. Tell you what, when I do dabble over there, when I'm hopping on trying to get some of those cute little border changes, the audacity that these Shaman players have, because they coin out their freaking weapon, their little box spine, and then they're doing the thing, and then it's gone because it only has 2, but then they play that pirate girl, the horde pillager, and then they get it back, and I'm frustrated and angry because it's like one of those aggro decks that, by turn 6 or 7, they have all these huge minions, and it's like, oh, well, I guess I die. So I hope they change it. I can't predict the exact card changes. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know exactly what they're going to do, but I do foresee them changing it. It did take them forever to do Demon Hunter, just like, but I hope they have to. It's overpowering.
Demon Hunter did see a lot of changes. Brushy.
All right.
Brushy the Robin Tuna.
There's going to be 5 nerfs.
Oh, shit.
First one.
Hold on. Robin Tuna's top 5 Shaman nerfs. Starting number 5. What is it?
Sea Giant goes to Hall of Fame.
All right. Number 4.
Mogu goes to 10.
Coming in, number 3.
Lotus Bloom goes to 1 mana. And they screw over Druid too, because Druid had a problem with it beforehand too. So they're just going to fix both at the same time.
Okay. Our number 2 Shaman change.
Box Spine goes to 7 mana, not 6.
Oh,
okay.
And actually gets another durability.
You love to see it. Can I get a drum roll from the rest of the crowd here? our number one shaman change from the man that couldn't become Batman is...
Cage Match Custodian goes to 3. But Icicles already said that one.
Okay.
A
little bit of a
But
letdown.
I'm very adamant about all those nerfs,
Really
actually.
good. That was your hot takes. I really respect those hot takes.
I think they're all going to happen.
I think 10,000. I would give you a point.
You know what? Ron's got a good point. Why did you save that one for number one? That was the least hot of your takes.
Because, like, in my head, that was the order I was going to say it in anyways, and then, like, I didn't reorder them after you, like, hyped it up.
Okay.
So I was just like, I'm going to just keep going with it so I don't forget something. I was like, you threw me off a little bit, and I was like, I'm just going to keep it the same order I had.
You gotta think on your toes here, man. You gotta think on your toes.
That's why I'm just Robin and not Batman, man. I need assistance.
All right, Markshire.
Order, I tapped last.
All right. So, yeah, clearly Shaman is the best deck in the game. I really think that Rogue is not far behind, but I mean, if you're not playing Evolve Shaman or Whirl Kick Secret Rogue on ladder, like, I think you're just hurting your win rate at this point. They're clearly the top 2 decks. They do need to get hit. I don't really see it happening this week. The nerfs might happen, in conjunction with the drop of the mini set or something like that. But when we look at what to nerf, I think Custodian or Cage Match Custodian is a really good one to hit because, like, Evolve Shaman used to exist as deck, like, in the meta before when we had Bogspine Knuckles, and it was not that good. Like, Custodian is really what put that deck over the edge. It allowed you to consistently get Knuckles and get those Evolves. I can see them moving that to 3. Mogu is one change I don't think they'll make Brushy, and that's because they've already nerfed Mogu from 7 to 9 mana. Nerfing the same card twice is something, it's happened before. I mean, you think about Quest Rogue, they nerfed the Quest, but that was the key card that made that deck insane. Mogu is just like, they did nerf it 3 times, yeah. But Mogu is just like, it's one piece of the puzzle, it's a strong card in the deck, but I really see them hitting Cage Match Custodian, possibly the weapon, possibly Pitmaster too, just because if you look at like Desert Hare and Pitmaster, you get 3 3-drops for 3 mana with both of them. And that just gives the deck huge consistency after turn 5, after their weapon. So I can see them maybe hitting Pitmaster too, just because it's a ton of value. But Custodian is definitely the most likely.
All right. Sorry, I need to give you one more point there. Okie dokie. We are going to finish up the Mulligan phase with our final question, and we're going to stay in standard, but I have a pretty interesting question for all 4 of you here. We're going to look at, this is our first show of the new year of 2021. We're only 4 days in. It'd be impossible for us to have had another one. And I want to take a look ahead, not just to the upcoming mini set or the next expansion, but at the year as a whole. So, who hasn't gone first yet?
We've all gone first.
I think we all have.
Awesome. Okay. Let's start with Stephieee, the top left here.
What did I just say?
Let's start at the top left here.
Oh, no,
my question for you is, what is your bold prediction for Hearthstone Standard in the entire year of 2021? Not just the upcoming meta, not from January to December. What's going to happen? What's your bold prediction?
My hot take, if you will.
Your hot take, if you will.
Hot take, if you will. So here's the thing. I think that we ended the year with a lot of changes that they're throwing in, and I like that. I like where they're going. One thing I respect a lot about what they're doing is, I know this is something we're going to talk about later, but how they're kind of adding a little spice and flavor within the meta by adding like those little mini sets and having, trying to offer some variety. Because if you're a standard player, you know that a lot of times it just ends up being 3 decks that are the best, and people just play that all the time, and it's really boring and stale sometimes. So with my hope is that they continue on with adding some more diversity. What I would love for them to do is this might be a hot thing. I would love for them to start rotating back in some of the older cards. I think that would be a really cool concept for them to start doing, because there's some cards that I just miss and I'm just like, I would play again. And I know, Stephanie, you can just play Wild. Sure. Yes. But that's a lot. I think that would be really, like, I think that's cool. I think it'd be really nice for people that haven't played in years to kind of see some that are intimidated by Wild, and they see some of their old favorites, back in the meta, and they're just like, you know what, maybe I'll try it again. Maybe I'll jump in and do that again. I think that'd be really smart. In that retrospect, I don't know if they're actually going to do it, but I would love for them to do it. And then I like that they continue to give us more cards instead of just for, like, every expansion. I like that they add a little pizzazz, a little flavor, and they're like, let's see if you like these. So.
Alrighty. I mean, it's hard to argue. I'm sure we would all like to see some cards come back. I would love to see the Death Knights come back into the game. That might be not a common opinion, but I like them. Icicles, what is your bold prediction for 2021?
So what do we know? We know that they've said they're going to rework the classic set. We've seen that in Priest. We don't know if they mean they're going to do it for all classes or maybe specific classes. We also know we have a Hall of Fame period coming up. I think a small Icicle take is that Edwin's finally getting Hall of Fame. All the nerfs that he's dodged, all the rotations, it's finally his time. But I think my big prediction is that this classic set rework that they've been talking about, I think it's going to take classic completely off the board. And I think what they're going to end up doing is just significantly reducing the number of cards that are evergreen for every class, so that it puts a lot more emphasis on every new set coming out. They'll take the basic set that they have now, maybe expand it by a card or two, just to keep some of the flavor there for the different classes, but a lot of that flavor is baked into the hero powers. And so I would expect, if I'm making a prediction here, that classic set rework is going to take a lot of cards out of classic and just leave us with a very small basic set, and then relying on the creativity that they've shown over the last few sets to give us a dynamic meta every time. So you're not just playing the same cards for the same classes. You're really seeing evolution. You're really seeing change in every new set. That's my prediction.
Okay.
Hot take.
Hot take indeed. Markshire.
No, it's an icy take. It's Icicles. Come on, guys.
It was hot.
Icy hot.
So
Icy hot.
my hot take is the opposite of something that Icicles said, and it is that Edwin does not get Hall of Famed. I think that everyone has been saying, like, almost every time there is a Hall of Fame, or every time we get nerfs, people talk about how Edwin didn't get hit. It's been so good for so long. I think Edwin is just so core to Rogue's identity. Just like all the cards they print synergize with it, and like making a big Edwin is just fun. It's just really fun to do. Yes, it sucks to lose to, but like that is a huge part of why people, I think, competitive and casual alike, love playing Rogue, is because you get to play, 6 or 7 cards for like 2 mana and then make a 14/14 or a 20/20 and just win the game with it. I think I would enjoy playing Rogue less if I knew that I couldn't play Edwin at all. And I think that, I mean, a lot of people are predicting it. It could happen, but my hot take is still that it's not going to get nerfed. It's not going to get Hall of Fame. It's just going to stay the way it is as part of Rogue decks for the foreseeable future.
All right. TwoStarMako.
What up? All right. So my hot take or prediction for 2021 Standard is quests are on the comeback. But quests are going to be done completely different this time. They're going to be done like old-style Cthulhu, where it doesn't have to start in your hand. Well, like old-style Cthulhu with new Cthulhu, where it doesn't start in your hand, but it's kind of like a 31st card. So you have to complete something throughout the whole match. I've told someone else before. You have to complete whatever the stipulations are during the whole match, and once you finish the whole stipulation, your quest complete shows up in your hand. So that way you don't have to worry about the quest starting off in your opener, always being there, and then playing it turn 1. It's just going to be there. You're going to start completing the quest. It's going to show up on the left-hand side whenever you start like completing all of it. And once you're done with all that, it's going to appear in your hand. And then you have your quest. That is what's going to happen.
You said like old style Cthulhu. You mean like that sounds
so
like
like
new Cthulhu?
So you know how before whenever you play like a Disciple of Cthulhu, it gives him +2/+2, and he showed up on the left hand side, showed like his progress. It's both. I mean, they both do it, but I was just
okay.
So just like the progress completion on the left hand side, but it's not really a card that starts in your deck. It's like 31st in your deck tracker, or like when you're making the deck, because just to show the Blizzard client that you are trying to complete this quest. And once you're done with the quest, then it appears in your hand for 5 to
shouldn't it count
whatever
as
mana.
a card then? Shouldn't that be the 30th card?
No, it'll be the 31st because you still need to have your minimum 30 cards. It will appear in yours later. Just like Cthulhu is just 1 card, but it breaks up into 4. But
yeah.
Okay.
So technically, you have more than 30.
Alrighty, sure. Sounds cool to me. We are going to transition into our second phase, if you will, our face or trade phase. As a reminder, here this is more of a rapid fire round. The contestants, the panelists, our 3 competitors and Brushy are going to have a smaller amount of time to hit us with their opinions on the topics that are presented to them. They'll have the option of going face, which essentially means that they agree with the statements, hitting them with statements instead of questions, or they can trade, which means that they disagree with the statement that's presented to them. Our first statement for the 4 of you, and let's start at the top right with the man who lost his job to Raw Mexico. Your first face or trade statement: Silver is still the strongest conference in Legacy after a couple of weeks of play.
Oh, I'm gonna trade on this one. I'm trading hard. I wanted to go face. I was so ready to punch myself in the face and go face, but I'm trading. It's not silver. It's red. It's red by far. You got Swallows that follows. Dirty Mikes and boys are always a playoff team every year. Team Tries start off a little slow, but bounce back real hard in week 2. They're doing great. Ticketus Punchers is going to come back. Prep is for Rogues, not Pilots, is overrated, but they're still good. So I think some of the top teams are in red. Silver has some good previous teams like Dad Legend and HSA and stuff like that, but like I don't think they're going to be nearly as competitive as this red conference. The winner of Legacy this year is coming out of the red conference, and not a doubt in my mind it's by any other conference. Red is the strongest, and they're going to prove it this season.
All right, Icicles.
I'm trading this too. I'm also picking red as the strongest conference. I started THL PAL picking red as the strongest conference because it just worked out. It's my preseason rankings that I had, I don't know, like 6 of the top 10 teams were all in red. And it's not even counting my own team, so which is true because my own team's 0-2. But that being said, when you look at silver, I want to push back against silver being the strongest right now. They've got good teams, but they've also got bad teams. And I think they're the conference right now is the haves and the have-nots. So they're going to have a couple good teams, make the playoffs, probably have some good runs, but they've also got some teams that are just kind of getting beat up right now. So it's tough to say that they're the strongest conference when they clearly have some of the weaker teams. So I'm trading.
All right. Markshire.
So I'm going to go face. I think silver is definitely still the strongest conference. And one of the reasons is because I don't think there's a clear weakest team. You could maybe argue that Anoia team is the weakest one, but I don't think there's any team that really seems bottle up the barrel to me. Like, yes, there's some teams with low point totals, but they're playing against all these super strong teams. Like HSA and Dad Legend, they're bringing back very similar rosters. Like, we know how good those teams are. Those are, I mean, probably if I had to say, like HSA and Dad Legend, the 2 most storied teams in THL. I mean, they always make playoffs. They always do super well. The Zilfs are really strong. I think Flame Pimps is strong. They have several players who have done well in pro. Amberflight Gaming still looks good to me. I just think like overall, most of the teams in the conference are good. If we look at red, they have some good teams, but like teams like Team Tries, Ticketus Punctures, and Sir Finley Squires, there's a lot of teams that are unknowns to me. And I don't think that we can say just based on these first couple weeks that those teams are still strong. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to be a little bit hesitant because those teams have a lot of new players. So I think it's definitely still silver as the top conference.
All right, Stephieee, what are your thoughts?
So I'm going to trade, and it is gold. That is 100% the strongest. And the reason why is when you look at it, it's the truth. It's not a hot take. It's the fact.
Never mind.
So I'm going to tell you why.
Apologies.
So when you're looking at these teams. And I think when I'm thinking of what makes a conference the best is consistency and not just like domineering. Like when you look at silver, we have some teams that are dominating. And yes, Markshire, you do make a good point that, you know, half the teams were going against like these really high tier teams. But again, your conference really isn't that going to be that strong if you have like some severely weaker teams that aren't even putting up a fight against the quote unquote like really strong teams. Versus when I'm looking at gold, I'm looking at how these records are going from the last 2 weeks. And it's more or less to me when I'm looking at it pretty even. Like we have our like top 3 teams that are 2-0 right now, and then your bottom that are 0-2 that lost, and then some of these like 1-1s in the middle. And these teams that are 1-1s are not teams to just like write off about. Like these are like the Pod People Defies Brotherhood. I know I'm biased because like I'm from further back in the day, but
Pod People 0-2.
Gold Conference just looks again, that's what they do. That's what they used to do. They used to just like not do well, and then all of a sudden they're kicking ass and they're. So I'm gonna give it to Gold Conference.
Alrighty, you say it's facts. It was a little out left field for the rest of the opinions, but you backed it up. We're going to move to pro a little bit. We're gonna talk a little bit. This is gonna sound very biased coming from me, but I thought it was a good question. I didn't put like but anyways, whatever, fuck it. So your second face or trade, and we're gonna start with Markshire. Yeah, Diamond, back off. Is a Swagoi team will give Aeon their first loss.
Oh my god.
I mean, I knew that Swagoi was going to be the topic, but no. I mean, I'm gonna trade there. Obviously, I'm biased. I am a part of Aeon, but both of the Swagoi teams I think are strong. I think they're a little bit better. Than their records indicate. But I don't see them. I mean, at this point, Aeon is just like, I mean, we're the top dog in black. I don't really see Swagoi getting it done. So no.
Okay. Stephieee.
Absolutely. Swagoi's gonna kick your guys' butt. Why would I not think that? I specifically, my hot take. Can I like pick one? Is that like extra hot?
Straight out.
I'm gonna give it to Swagoi Red.
Fryer. What is it?
I'm giving it to Swagoi Red.
Okay.
You don't fuck with Reza. Otherwise, I'm sorry. Like, and Brasky's been chefs kiss. Swagoi Red's taking you down. I wouldn't be surprised if they both did it. But
if they both do, okay. Hot damn. Markshire, you got thoughts on that?
I mean, so Edelweiss has experience in THL. I actually played with her on Project Mayhem, which is, I mean, I think that's been like 2 years ago at this point. But I mean, Brasky has also done well, but Brasky has done well in THL mostly as like a 4 seed, and Pro is a different caliber of player. I don't really just think, and then some of these people like Revy and Dr. Chosen, I'm just not as familiar with. They're 1-1. That's solid. Maybe they're good players. I just don't really know. But I mean, right now, when you look at just like the backgrounds of both of these teams, I don't think that's going to happen.
All right, let's toss the ball over there to Ron Mexico Simp.
Okay. All right, then. Listen. You guys are losing. You're coming out of this bye week, and you're about to get crushed by the reigning champions, Hype Horizon. You guys played them last season. You kept it close, sure. But you're not going to do it 2 seasons in a row. Hype Horizon's going to come out swinging. They've been swinging all season. You guys are going down this week. I think you'll actually beat both Sugoi teams. I'll give you that. But you're definitely going to have a loss going into both Sugoi weeks. So you're losing to Hype Horizon, but you'll beat the Sugoi teams. There's just not a chance. I mean, who do you have lining up against who? Like, I think you're coming out with 2 wins. You're going to have 2 wins. It's probably going to be Arhat and Markshire. And then Donde's going to get swept 3-0 against whoever he's playing.
Oh, I deducted you a point, and then
Damn.
I'm putting it back on for that Donde comment.
Why did you deduct me a point?
You never said face or trade.
Okay, that's fair. I'll give you that one.
All right, so Brushy and I were going back and forth in the chat of who was going to get to call out the Hyper Horizon schedule. So I'm going to go face here. I'm going to go the opposite direction. So
you
that means that Aeon is beating Hyperizon. I'm going to call it right now. That is, I don't know if it's an upset necessarily. Aeon's playing really well. So, but the week after, they place the Void Black. And I think it's one of those letdown weeks. I think Aeon comes out strong out their bye. They get their prep work in. They beat Hyperizon. They're feeling really good about themselves. And then Void Black comes in and knocks them down a peg. And it has to be Void Black because they don't play Void Red until the end of the season. So the only way this is faced is if it's Void Black in 2 weeks. And I'm going face on that.
Okay. Icicles is saying there's no way that they go undefeated until the end of the season. Like to hear it. We're going to take a little trip down the Battlegrounds road. We're going to talk about a Battlegrounds minion that got brought up in chat at the beginning of the show, actually. I don't remember who it was.
It was Valera's Bay.
Was it?
FBM2.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Elistra here. So the statement I have for you, and let's start up at the top right here with Moppy Fish. Elistra is healthy for the game. Face or trade?
So, I'm going to go face. She is healthy. I do really like the minion. I do really like her playstyle. But I do believe she is a little overstated right now. She's very healthy for the game. She's not super overpowered to the point where like you just need to pick Elistra every time you see her. But I think her stats at 7-7 is too overstated. I think she needs to go down to a 5-5, and she'll be perfectly fine. She'll be 100% fine. Just another well-statted tier 6 minion. And her ability in Reborn, it's all completely fine for the game. It's very healthy, brand new take on stuff where, it's like, oh, I'm not going into this taunt anymore. So now you have to realign your taunts. Now you have to realign, which order your big minions go in. Because, like, if your opponent has Elistra, you need to set up a Divine Shield Popper or something to kill it, a Divine Shield Popper or something to kill it. So it adds another random aspect into the game, which is huge. And more things that you can add into that makes people play better. It makes people think differently through each one of the games. Like, oh, they have Elistra, I have to reposition. Other than me put big minion face first, me kill minion. So it's a whole different thing. But she does need to be toned down from a 7-7 to a 5-5. I think to make her as perfectly healthy as the game could make her.
Alrighty, Stephieee, what are your thoughts?
All right, face. She is, I think, a great minion to have, and I love her. I would just like to point out that I was saying this 2 weeks ago, and you, little tuna boy, were in chat being, let me finish. We're like, no, Stephieee, so I would just really like to hear those words 2 weeks later, but I'm not here to be petty. Anyways, moving on. So I think she's incredible. One of my favorite things about her, if you play BGs, she comes out of Shredder, or not Shredder, the Steeds. And it's just so funny when you're behind and she comes out and just saves you and you knock like 11 into your opponent. And it's really frustrating for them. You do need to learn to play around her, which is what I think adds a nice element to the game. Especially, you can't just put like your little 1/1 poison if you're playing against elementals. Like if they have her, there's just different thought that you have to go into things. But I also think, and I think as we've progressed in the meta, people are learning how to play around her, which is why I don't think she's too overpowered. However, she is too heavily statted. Kind of like how, God, why am I blanking on his name? The now 4/4/6 drop elemental that was, that buffs that when you play
Little Rag?
level. Yeah, Little Rag. Thank you. Just how like Little Rag was overpowered with the stats. Like we brought the stats down and it helped tone things down. Just add a little tone. I even like your hot take on the 5/5. I think that's a good stat line. So I'm gonna give you credit there. That's a good stat line for her. But I love her. I don't think they should take her out.
Okay. I wasn't saying they should take her out.
No, that was just my other hot take.
I was trying to say that. Markshire.
So I am going to trade here. And I think one of the problems with Elistra is she just is good in basically any comp. And when you have cards like that, are just like good in almost anything, you don't really have to think about when you're picking her. I think that's a potential issue. And also, like, yes, you can play around Elistra, but just like the difference between your opponent having her and then not having her when you're thinking about positioning your minions, going into the turn, like there's such a huge difference. And I think big power swings like that are not healthy for the game. I mean, I think reworking it would be fine, but also right now, I think she's too powerful.
Okay, Icicles.
All right, so I'm going to go trade. And we listened to Stephieee and Brushy both talk up their BG's knowledge, say how good it is for the game, how great it is, our elitist BG knowledge players. But I'm here voicing the people.
Elitist.
And I went to Reddit, and I looked at what Reddit had to say about Lustra. And you know what Reddit said? Reddit said, how high was the guy who thought Lustra was a good addition to Battleground? I'm sorry, that's what the people have said. And if Reddit said it, therefore it's true. So Lustra is not healthy for the game because Reddit is all in an uproar. So get that guy out of here. Never to the ground. No way.
Oh my
That's
god.
flawless reasoning.
You can never go wrong with Reddit, can you?
Reddit just has all the knowledge.
I know.
I got that.
Just burn down the show. Yep. Okay, we're gonna take a trip back into the regular standard realm, and we're gonna talk. Well, we teased it a little bit earlier in the show when someone brought up the mini set. We're gonna talk a little bit about the mini set here. So my question, or I guess my statement. I don't know why I always say my question. My statement for the four of you, and we'll start here with Markshire, is that the standard mini set that we should be getting here in, I would say probably a couple of weeks, right, will bring a big meta shift. I would imagine it'll also come with some sort of balance tweaking too, but what are your thoughts here, Markshire? Face or trade?
So I am going to go face on that. I do think there's going to be a significant meta shift. However, part of that is I think that either at the same time at the mini set or beforehand, we are going to see nerfs. And that is going to be part of the meta getting shaken up. I think if you just talked about cards being added on their own, that's a slightly different question. But I think there's pretty much no way some sort of nerfs don't happen in the next 2 weeks. And we are going to see Shaman get hit and Rogue get hit. And the meta is going to see a serious shakeup. Right now, with the place that we're at, like there's the top 2 decks, and then there's a couple other strong decks, but really you've got 2 or 3 decks that are just like absolutely dominating every other deck in the meta. There is obviously going to be some kind of change. Like we're going to see some new strategies come up. We're going to see some decks that are currently only about tier 3 probably rise, be high tier 2 or tier 1. So I think we're going to see a significant change.
Alrighty. Tuna Brushy, what are your thoughts here? Are we going to see a big meta shift?
No, it's unless the nerfs come, there's not going to be too much. I mean, if we look at Galakrond's Rising, the last like mini set that came with the adventure that came with like, what was it, like 35 different cards or 35 new cards, the meta really didn't change. All it did was help certain decks out, and they got better cards for it. Like we got Reno, we got Rottenness Drake, like Big Druid got their Wind Guardian, and Rising Winds is like the only one that still sees play. There's just not enough that like is going to go on that it's like within a mini set. There's just not enough that you can do that will like completely change the whole meta. I mean, sure, Risky Skipper. Yes, Risky Skipper came out, but that's like one actual good card. One card made Warrior actually like super playable Armorsmith. But like outside of that, it's all I got were some additions onto already known decks. So you can't do a whole lot with 35 cards. If Markshire is right and nerfs come with it, yes, then there'll be a huge meta shift. But I wouldn't count that as the mini set making a big meta shift. That's the nerfs doing that, not the mini set. So I think the meta is roughly going to be the same.
I'm going to toss it on over to Stephieee before I do. Brushy didn't say face trade again, so he lost a point. Stephieee.
Yeah, sure.
Trade. And the reason why is your wording. It's that adjective, that big that you threw in there. It's going to make this big meta shift. I don't think it's going to make a big change. I don't think we're going to see this, like, this huge extravagant, like, now people aren't playing Shaman and we got these amazing priest cards. I can't believe those words came out of my mouth. Priest. But I do think that they're obviously going to make some kind of change. I think in a few weeks people are going to get creative. They're going to have hope. They're going to have hope and be like, let's try new things. And then things are going to kind of slowly go back to how they were, unless there are nerfs that make some extravagant difference.
Alrighty. And last but not least, Icicles. Okay. I knew we'd only talked to 3, and I was trying to remember who the 4th one was. Go ahead.
It's all right. I'm anchoring here in the last few points, so I'm having to kind of pick and choose my takes out of what's left. But I think I'm good on this one because no one took mine, and I'm going face. And it's because Brushy just completely whiffed on one of the best cards that we've seen, and it came out of Galakrond's Awakening. It was Risky Skipper. I mean, that wasn't just a you kind of waffled a little bit and you traded, but I'm going face because all it takes is one card. And we saw with Risky Skipper, not only did it change Warrior, it almost completely destroyed aggro altogether as a viable deck choice. I mean, without Demon Hunter just going crazy, Risky Skipper would have single-handedly just destroyed all aggro decks. And it just takes one card for a meta just to completely shift. So we don't know what that card's going to be, but, and I mean, that's all it takes. So you got 36 chances here for something just to come in and just blow up the meta again the way Risky Skipper did. So I'm definitely going face here.
Alrighty.
Wait, before we move on, can we take a point away from me and give it to Icicles? I feel like he didn't get enough for his Reddit take earlier.
He got 3 for his Reddit take. That's the most really good.
I feel like he deserved 4. I take a point away from me and give it to Icicles. He needs it. That was such a good take.
Okay.
He needs the Reddit take.
I got a new name for you, buddy. Moving on to our last question before we eliminate 2 competitors. We have Stephieee and Brushy tied at 19 right now, with Markshire at 21 and Icicles at 24, holding a steady lead. But I saved the best question for last, and I think this is one where some of you at 19 and Markshire could possibly even overtake us this year. Is your cam okay? Yes. And we're gonna talk about the standard professional scene for a second, and what Blizzard has done to it. So my statement for you, and what we'll do is I will start with our lower points players, so their points, their hot takes don't get stolen from them. We'll start with Icicles' new simp in the top right. And your statement is the following: Blizzard has killed the Hearthstone standard professional scene.
Face. Going face on this. Sure, it brought like a ton of viewers to standard and seeing that, but the way that Blizzard has handled themselves with their standard players has been absolutely horrifying. I mean, this past year, we saw GMs like literally got fined for going to the hospital and missing their match. That brought so much rage to everyone on Twitter, to everyone on Reddit. Can you imagine that, hey guys, I can't go into work. I'm literally dying. And your boss goes, you know what? Give us $5,000 because you couldn't come to work because you're literally dying. You know? And then the North American GM players in standard are pitching a fit every week. A lot of them are talking about not coming back. I mean, we already saw Fireback quit. Bloodyface has talked about quitting multiple times because they're up until 4, 5, 6 a.m. for these matches. And then they have a 9 a.m. check-in. And if they miss that 9 a.m. check-in, that's a $1,000 fine. So you want your standard pro North American players to be awake 24 hours for 5 straight days? No, you cannot do that. You cannot do that. Sure, Fireback got relegated, but he got relegated because he literally missed his 10 a.m. check-in after he went to sleep at 8 a.m. because his match ended at 6 a.m. So they gave him a 2-hour turnaround to be back ready to play his matches, and fined him for it. They didn't give him any time to sleep because once you check in, you're supposed to be sitting here at your computer like this all day until it's your turn. So they are killing the scene because of the way they handle their players. I mean, there was another thing with the Chinese players with the Free Hong Kong thing. I'm not going to go into that because it's going to get really political really fast. But I mean, they also missed that too. They pissed off a lot of their fan bases with how they handle their players. And if they keep handling it this way, they're going to lose their whole standard scene because people follow the faces, not exactly the organization. So if you make the faces mad, you're losing your following. So they need to either fix that or they will officially have killed the entire pro scene, standard pro scene.
Alrighty. Stephieee.
Oh, face. Absolutely. Don't get... Okay. So I'm not going to touch on all the things that Brushy talked about. It's really good. All of it. Like, yeah, they treat their players like shit. They don't care about their mental health. They don't care about their well-being. They're just in it for views, which doesn't even make sense because then they're like, let's just go and hop all over to YouTube. Like, what about Twitch? Fuck Twitch. We're going to go to YouTube. And then my least favorite thing, I got to get myself situated. Why I get so frustrated with the professional Hearthstone and how they run their tournaments and how they do their things is the toxic environment that they continue to hold. It's absolute bullshit. I don't want to be there watching this, being a view and adding to the toxic cesspool that is some of these people that have the audacity to comment on these players. It doesn't matter the gender. It doesn't matter anything like that. It's just toxic and hate, and it's gross. It's gross. And they do nothing to address it. They do nothing to fix it. And since this is like right now, it's all a virtual world. It's not like we're having like tournaments in person. We can't be in person. It's even worse and it's even glorified and it's gross. And honestly, that made me lose a lot of respect for them to begin with. So not only do they don't care about their players with their mental health, with how they run the tournaments, they don't care about what they're going to go and see when they go and read back chat, as if these people aren't people, as if these people don't have thoughts and feelings. It's gross.
All right. Markshire.
All right. So I'm going to go the other way here. I am going to...
Stephieee just hit you with the most passionate face we've had on the show, and you're like,
I tried.
Trade.
I know, but I already know what I was gonna say.
I know.
So that is a tough act to follow. I'm not gonna lie, but
I love it.
So hear me out. I think just thinking that Blizzard has completely killed the competitive scene is such a strong statement. I think it has to be a trade. And I think there were a lot of valid points made by Brushy and Stephieee, but like thinking about, so Brushy said that, you know, a lot of these people like Firebat and Bloodyface are talking about quitting competitive Hearthstone, that a lot of the GMs are pissed off. I think that's true, but realistically, I don't think that means competitive Hearthstone is going to go away. There are so many players who would love to be in the spot that GMs are in. There are so many players who want to play in qualifiers and are grinding and really want that spot. And I think it's just a place where even if they get treated poorly, like there's just going to be hundreds of players willing to step up because they want to play professional Hearthstone. They want to be on that big stage. They want to be, you know, being there, winning big prize money for playing Hearthstone, for playing a video game that they love. Now, I've definitely, like, I've been critical. I was critical earlier about how HS Esports is dealing with things. I think, for one, they are not advertising GM and qualifiers and tournaments well at all. It's really hard to just see, like, what the calendar is, like, what the schedule of what upcoming events are. Like, that isn't clear. I don't think that's easily displayed in the client. I don't think that's on Twitter. And that's something that, like, you need to be very prominently showing when events are happening, when they're being streamed, if you want people to tune in and increase that viewership. So I think that's something they definitely have to work on. But I think for now, you know, it's going to be here to stay. I don't think it's being killed. The YouTube thing, I would rather they be on Twitch, but like HS Esports had nothing to do with that. That was a greater sponsorship deal that they had with Google. So like, that's out of their control. It's definitely worse if it's on YouTube, but that's not a decision by the HS Esports team. So I think they made a lot of mistakes in the past, but I'm hopeful that they will still have a strong system coming into this year, and that professional Hearthstone will still be doing okay.
Alrighty, Icicles. I'm getting hate for putting you last again, but it's because you have the most points. So
you're only getting hate because they didn't pay attention to what you said.
I know they don't listen, do
they? No.
It's all good. I'm gonna trade here until Blizzard announces that they're no longer supporting Hearthstone competitive scene. It's still alive. It may be on life support. It may have a lot of problems, but it's still there. Blizzard has the power of life and death here, and right now they're still supporting life. I will say a lot of the problems that Brushy and Stephieee alluded to, I can pin on just as easily on YouTube. So YouTube made a play to try to get more viewers, to try to build up their brand, to say, hey, look, we're serious about esports. We want Hearthstone here. And then what have they done with it? They've allowed that toxic environment that Stephieee referenced to fester. Like, they haven't solved it. I mean, yes, you can blame Blizzard for that, but I mean, that's on YouTube too. I mean, YouTube wants to be a place where people go to watch esports, but all they did was sign Hearthstone. They didn't actually develop it. They didn't actually put time and effort and resources and advertising into it. They didn't put controls and moderation and filtering into it. Like, there's a lot of problems here that are on the backs of YouTube. YouTube wanted to make a play at Twitch, and they're not living up to it. And then you see all the people that are staying on Twitch, the dogs, and even Ty's, he's still playing in GM, but like most of his viewership is from Twitch. Like, there's just a really missed opportunity to get personalities there. And, you know, you look at someone like Apex Void, who went over to Facebook to stream because they paid him, but you know, how much is being missed out there because it's just not being advertised, it's not being marketed. There's just so much more that can be done, and it's not just on Blizzard. Blizzard kind of follows the money, and that's a little bit cynical to say, but at the same time, if these companies like YouTube are going to try to make plays, they need to back it up. They need to actually put in the work. They need to put in the effort to bring people in to watch and filter out the people that are just there to be toxic. So I think as much of this is on YouTube as it is on Blizzard.
All right. If I'm not mistaken,
people suck everywhere. I like that thought.
If I'm remembering correctly, wasn't the Hearthstone esports thrown in to the YouTube deal as kind of like a buffer? Because I'm pretty sure YouTube wanted the Overwatch League as their main.
Correct.
And then
they did.
Hearthstone
Yes.
and something else. I think StarCraft were thrown in as buffers for the deal.
Correct. Yeah, they said
Call of Duty was involved too.
Yeah.
It was Call of Duty, StarCraft, and Hearthstone were all thrown in as like Blizzard was like, well, we don't know if we want to give you Overwatch yet, so they gave them the other three to be like, well, how about these three just as a deal? So, so that's exactly what happened.
Well, it feels good to be left in the dust. Just like we're about to leave Stephieee and Mr. Tied for Last in the dust here. We're gonna throw them on mute. Just for a little bit. They will be back at the very end to say their heartfelt goodbyes, but they're not allowed to go anywhere because it'll fuck up my cams. So they're going to stand there and look pretty, and probably, I'm sure Brushy has some signs for us.
Maybe.
We'll see. But we're going to move on to our final round here. Let me get those mutes handy. Oops. There we go. We're going to move on to our final round, our duel round. We have 3 questions for you. All 3 of these questions deal with specific THL teams. There is one from each series. No, I shouldn't say one from each series because there's more than 3 series. But there is a different question for each series here for a different series, whatever. We're going to start off with Hero. And we're going to talk about the #1 team in Hero as of right now being Advanced Tactical Lackeys. But we're going to throw another team into the mix here. Your question, and we're going to start with Icicles because he has the lead. I'm going to set these points back at 0, so you're going to see these change here. Icicles, question for you to start is, will we see a Gungan Us Among upset Advanced Tactical Lackeys this week in Hero?
Is a fantastic question. So I thought you were going a little different direction with this of whether or not ATL is the best team in Hero. And I was going to just say yes, they clearly are. They've beaten every team in their conference. But I was going to caveat that with one thing. They hadn't yet played a Gungan Us Among, who, if you listen to THL Pilot, you would have heard us rank them as the #1 team in Hero coming into the season. They got off to a little bit of a slow start, but they've kind of picked it up a little bit. ATL, however, has just been on fire. All their players have winning records 1-5, and that is really impressive. That is the sign of sustainable success. And I think they sustain it going forward. I think they beat the Gungan Us Among. It looks like they have another sub coming in. Ballas is a good player, but not their normal #1. They got a couple players that just, a little bit lower on the PR, and they're 4-5. So I like Risen and Nadiev's taking the 4-5 there. And so only one more win, even when one of those wins is BrushyTuna. I think you got it. I think ATL takes this week and goes to 4-0, completes the first wave sweep of the Orange Conference.
All right, I'm gonna give you that point there, even though you mentioned Brushy winning something potentially.
Oh, I said even though one of those players is Brushy, not that he was going to win, that they're going to get a win despite Brushy being one of those players they needed to win.
No, I know. It's just Brushy being in the same sentence as winning something is it's a risk in and of itself. Markshire.
Yeah, so I'm going to disagree. I think that Agungan Asamung is going to get the upset here. I am a little bit biased because my team, my hero team, did lose to them last week. So I'd love for them to go out and crush ATL, would make us look a lot better. But I mean, just looking at this, like ATL, you know, they're obviously really strong. But I mean, I think you can make the argument that right now maybe they're the best team in Orange, but I don't think they're the best team in Hero at all. Like, they're definitely strong. They're a team that has had a lot of success in previous seasons, but I mean, I would love to see them play against some of these teams like Vote of Some Confidence or maybe Ask HS or Dad Legend. I actually don't think right now that they would beat those teams. I think that those other teams are better. I also think Agungan Asamung this week, coming off a very strong week against my team, is going to do well. I'm just looking at these matchups. And I really think that any player for Agungan Asamung could win against ATL. Their weak point right now is definitely Scritch. He's 0-2. He's going up against Risen, who is just perennially a strong player. But I mean, Scritch is still a strong Hearthstone player. Those of you who are at DreamHack ATL remember that he was one of the few players to, I think, get a 4-0 or 4-1 start in that tournament. So Scritch can definitely still do well in LHS. I can see him potentially getting the upset there, but I think overall is better and is going to take the win this week.
Alrighty. We are going to start our next question with Markshire since Icicles started the first one. I'm going to keep talking for a second because I forgot to get the question put on the screen here. So let me just do that.
I respect
quick.
it.
Thank you. All right, here we go. We're going to move to Legacy. And we're going to talk about the Foolish Madmen. So, Markshire, starting with you, will the Foolish Madmen in Legacy ride this high to the finals, or will we see them fall off? Diamond's eagerly awaiting your points.
Yeah. So let me actually pull this up here. So I'm actually looking at their team. So I think that the Foolish Madmen is clearly very strong. But they have F2L also in their conference, and I actually think that F2L is the better team. I expect them to do very well. I think there's a clear, they are the top two in gold, but just looking at the matchups, I mean, I think F2L is better. I don't see them winning their conference. I mean, F2L has brought in, like, their 4 and 5 seeds, Slad and the Rotted Zombie, are very strong, top 200, top 100 legend wild players. I know that hasn't translated exactly. They're both 1-1, but just having that experience playing competitive Hearthstone, building lineups, even if it's in a different format, having that in the 4 and 5 seed in THL, I think is so valuable. And I mean, you look at their top three, I mean, Myanodon, Rebobson, and Marty, those are three players that can just, I think, any given day, they can win against any other player in THL. So I think F2L does have the edge over them. So I do not see the Foolish Madmen going to the finals.
All right, Icicles.
So I'm going to say that they are. I like Foolish Madmen. I came in a little low on them coming into the season. Wanted to see them prove it a little bit, specifically looking at their 3 seed. Because anytime you start with a 1-2 at both 550, then you really put a lot of pressure on your 3 seed. And so far, he's delivered. Automated Button is 2-0 after a great start. And so this is a strong team that's had good results so far. They've clearly made up to the legendary ranking in our THL PAL. And speaking of THL PAL, I'm going to invoke PALBot here. PALBot last season was on a roll, picking the teams that ended up being the top teams in Hero, Legacy, and Pro. And right now, PALBot says that Foolish Madmen is the top team by far. It's not close. They have almost a 20% lead. I mean, their lead over second place in the PALBot rankings is equal to the difference between the second place team and the 6th place team. That's a pretty big gap this early in the season. So PALBot likes them, and I've learned my lesson to trust PALBot. So I like Foolish Madmen here to be the top team in Legacy right now.
Alrighty. We are going to finish off, starting with Icicles, their final question. And we're going to talk about the Battlegrounds Finals because it is going on right now. I'm also getting this question pulled up here. There we go. So, There has been one clear leader in the Battleground series since the beginning of its inception, from what I've seen. I'm on the outside of it looking in a little bit, and that's been Bob's Bounty Hunters. So my question, and we're going to start with Icicles here, is it even possible to beat Bob's Bounty Hunters in the finals, or do they already have it on lock?
I mean, you never know what's going to happen. That's why we play the game, but you have to say that they're the clear favorite. So the way the Battleground series was set up was to have 6 teams make the playoffs, as it were. The bottom 4 teams is sort of a play-in, so the top 2 would advance to play the top 2 teams. So if you look at the standings, all those teams that played in the first round of the playoffs got points added to their totals, and they still didn't catch Bob Bounty Hunters. So clearly what Bob's Bounty Hunters has been doing this season has been working. They've been dominant all season. A 1 week, it's 2 weeks, right? So 2 weeks gives them even more of a potential to just to be consistent, to have the results that they've already shown, and be the winners here in the Battleground series. Shout out specifically to Tapper Bear. I think she was referenced earlier in the show. She's a player that I know from Standard seen earlier, and she was very dominant in that too. So she just carried that success over into the Battleground series. She's shown up in, I think, Salissa's Invitational for a Battleground event. So, she's made a name for herself, and coming into THL just gives THL that much more credibility, and it gives that team all the power that they need to be victorious here. So I think that they're the clear favorite, and I would definitely put my money on them to win.
All right, Markshire.
Yeah, so I mean, I have to agree with that. I think they are the clear favorite, and I mean, just like I totally agree with what Icicles said. Just looking about how they didn't even play in that first round and are still very far ahead in points. But just consistency is the main word that I think of when I'm looking at this team. Like having 62 points from Jump Float, their captain. He's I guess the 4 seed on the team. If we did seeding, just everyone puts up points consistently. And I mean, I think they're the clear favorite, and that they're going to take it home.
Okie dokie. Well, that was it. Look at that. I see Raw Mexico's in chat though, and he's very upset. You guys know why Raw Mexico is upset? Any guesses why Raw Mexico is upset?
I mean, Ron's upset about a lot of things, so.
Does anyone see? It's something to do with last
Is
week.
Ron hungry?
If you tuned into last week, Ron and Stephieee had a question last week that dealt with food, and they're very upset that you guys got all 3 serious questions and you didn't get any food questions. So, as of right now, I'm typing up a food question. So you're going to give me 1 second as I work my fingers magic here, and I finger my keyboard while I get this going. But I have a good question here.
Still doing phrasing?
Huh? Oh, all the time. Just 1 second. And it is we're gonna piggyback off of last week's question as well. We're gonna make this a face or trade question. This is coming straight out of the ass because it's the first thing I could think of, and it's not a good question.
Straight.
And it's okay.
If it's straight out of the ass, then.
Well, when you see the food, you're gonna feel like it is. We'll start with Markshire. Face or trade? Taco Bell is better than real Mexican food.
Trade? What? No, it's just not. So I mean, I don't really eat Taco Bell that much, but I mean, I would much rather actually go to a Mexican restaurant and get served food that is well prepared and has real ingredients. So, yeah,
Interesting.
no.
Interesting. Icicles.
I noticed something here.
Yeah.
Markshire answered that question and was deducted points. The way you phrased that question was Taco Bell versus real Mexican food. I can tell you, as a Texan, real Mexican food is outstanding. But there's something special about Taco Bell. And when you want Taco Bell, only thing that you're going to eat. And if you have the constitution for it, go for it. I won't touch it, but I'm not gonna stop you. Make your own choices. You want Taco Bell over real Mexican food? Go for it, Mako. I believe in you.
Thank you. As a Spanish teacher, I feel like I'm, whenever I say that I have an unhealthy obsession with Taco Bell, that people go, but it's not real, and I go, you're right, it's not real. But if I want something that tastes delicious, it doesn't always have to be real. And that's what happens here. The meat might be fake, but I don't care because it tastes delicious in my mouth. Icicles is your winner, and he seems disgusted at the thought of that. But he's still your winner. He's got to win anyways. I wasn't going to let Markshire overtake him for that last round. I just wanted to appease Ron and Stephieee off the bat because they both seemed upset that there wasn't any sort of dumb question for them. But Icicles, this is your time to shine. This is your what's it called? Your monologue. This is your lethal. You get about 30 seconds here to say pretty much whatever you want to. So ball's in your court, bud.
Thank you. And just thank you, Brushy, Markshire, Stephieee. Y'all are great competitors. Had a great time being here with y'all. I think we all kept it above the board, kept it clean. It was great. Shout out to Reddit, Power of the People, giving me this victory. But I want to give a shout out to my illustrious podcast producer, Matt at Arms. And I know I've shouted him out before. Shout him out on the podcast. Shout him out in Reddit. Not Reddit, in the Discord, excuse me. Ryan mentioned, why don't I shout him out? We do, but I want to take this opportunity to shout him out even more. A man is a saint. He comes in after hours, after Base and I record the THL Pal podcast. Make sure that we sound great. Make sure that he cleans up all our mistakes. And sometimes he gives us a little grief for it. But he's the reason why the podcast is so good. I recommend everyone listen to it. You may not get to hear him as often as you did before, but he's still contributing. He's still here. So shout out, Matt at Arms. Thank you for everything you do.
Alrighty. Well, with that, I gotta drag this crown over here, and we'll stick that sucker right on Icicles' head. There's your crown, bud. We're gonna unmute some people left and right. We're gonna get them back into the call. So Stephieee and Mr. Wannabe Nightwing. I was
supposed to say this is your last one, man.
I know it is. Before the call, I don't remember how it got brought up, but I told him that I would call him something else every single time that I called on him. I would have a different name every single time I called on him. And it got to be a struggle there at the end, so I was pretty happy that he got eliminated because I don't know how much my creativity was going to stretch for another entire round.
I mean, you practically used the same name twice. You just changed it from Ron Mexico's simp to Icicles simp.
I told you before when I originally said this. I said, don't expect a lot of creativity. I said, there's probably just going to be minor changes when it comes to your name. I mean, I went with TwoStarMako at one point.
Yeah, chat loved that one, to be honest.
I saw that, yeah.
Maybe we should just make my name next time on this, TwoStarMako. That'd be funny. I'm down for that.
Of tuna. Yeah, I know. That's what. There was one point where I couldn't think of one, and I tried.
Did you know there's 13 different types of tuna?
Well, I do now. Thanks, bud. I tried to think of other fish, but I was so on the spot I couldn't think of a name of another fish, so I just said like fish or something. I don't know. I felt very pressured, and I was stalling too long. Yeah, you guys have the floor, Markshire. Stephieee, you want to say anything before we head out here?
Markshire, what do you want to say? Tell the people what's on your mind.
Do you want to say anything?
Can you not hear me?
No, we can hear you.
No, we can hear you. No, Stephieee, I'm giving you the floor. So.
Oh, okay. Well, guys, hi, hello. If you're watching right now and you have the heart button, make sure you hit that heart button so you never miss the wonderful content that's thrown in your face basically every single day from THL. Also, thank you for letting me be here again. I'm really upset that my crown's taken, but it was taken in a good way. So hopefully I'll be back in a few weeks and maybe get it again. Only if there's Battleground questions.
We shall see.
I just want to say... No, I was just going to say this should have been Boozosaurus' crown. Because he was going to be on here, and then at the last second, Icicles just slid in. So... In my heart,
it's only because Booze couldn't do it. Yeah. Don't say because Icicles slid in like he did something.
You should have seen the threats that Icicles was sending to Booze. It was brutal.
He said, "Back down now."
We had to mute him for a bit, and like we just all feared for our lives, so we were like, okay, fine,
Hey.
you can be on the show.
Yeah.
Listen, what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
The Iceman cometh.
True.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm trying to get Booze on. Every single week I add him to the.
Booze has avoidance issues. Okay, chat. Let him be.
I add him to the list, and he always tells me he'll let me know last second, and last second he can never do it. So
He's a busy
Booze will
boy.
be on here eventually. I try to use Booze to
Extra
counteract some of our hyperactive guests. But I think Icicles and Markshire did a good job. Yeah, I'm talking about you, bud.
I know you are.
Yes.
Not me.
Definitely not. I don't know who will be on here next week. Still,
We know one
to figure
person.
out. We do know one person. Icicles should be back unless he is not able to. We're not forcing him, although we might have to force him after the stuff that he was saying to Booze earlier. But yeah, you will see. You're going to start seeing returning faces now. This will be the last time that you see new faces, except for Booze. You'll see Booze at some point as a new fresh face. But for the most part, it's going to be rotating cast from here on out since everyone's been in one time. So you'll see Donde come back, as sad as that may be. You'll see Mike Lowe come back. You will see Marty B come back into the fray. Trying to think of who else we have besides. I think that's it, actually. Although I'm probably missing someone, I'm going to feel really bad about it.
Donde.
I feel like you nailed it.
No,
though.
Ron Mexico.
Oh, Ron.
Been on here. The other two. Oh, and Jammies. They're on the.
Oh, can I want to be.
Wow. The disrespect to jammies.
Listen. I don't have anything to say. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Sorry to the both of them. They can be on next week as an apology. Maybe. Oh, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how I'm feeling. Although Icicles might just threaten both of them. We might just have a one-man show next week. People might be too
Keep
scared.
that crown strong.
Yeah. He's going to be like, don't get near this thing. All right. Well, any last second thoughts before we head out? No? Alrighty. We will be back next week at the exact same time, a week from today, 9 o'clock next Monday. Tomorrow you can check out Heart Center starting at 9 o'clock, and then on Wednesday you can check out Tavern Talk starting at 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock across the board. But yeah, also if you're wanting to be on stream, make sure you send a DM to Saku or Donde, and they will try and get you on stream. And check out our match shows Thursday through Sunday. And I think our BG's match show is on. Well, no, because it's finals.
No, we're doing BG's twice this week, Friday and Sunday for the finals. We're going to be doing it for the 2 weeks, so all 4 lobbies are covered.
Alrighty. Then, yeah, we will have BG's on Friday and Sunday. But outside of the Friday and Sunday, we'll have your normal THL match shows. So make sure you check those out. But with that, I am TwoStarMako. And Brushy, Icicles, Markshire, Stephieee, wave goodbye to the camera. And we will talk to you in a week. Well, I will.
See ya!
Markshire and Icicles aren't waving, so I'm just going to hold this here until they do.
I wait.
There you go.